Okay, this is the Microsoft Word Introduction Quiz Review. So I'm going to go through all of the key things that you need to know in order to successfully pass your quiz. As a student in my class, if you go into the announcements page, you will see an announcement called Microsoft Word Introduction Quiz Review. Microsoft Word Introduction Quiz Review. You want to pull those questions, and as I go through this, you should be able to quickly find or identify the correct answers. Not everything I'm going to go over is in the exact order, but everything that I am covering will be on your quiz, so make notes where necessary. Okay, so click on Enter. I'm just going to open up a CNN article just because it's text and I need text to demonstrate this first thing. Trying to find something non-political. So let's do this. Control C. Okay. And again, this is just for text, no other purpose. And then I'll put in the. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Control A. Control A is select all. Most people know that Control C is copy and Control V is paste. Well, Control A will select everything in this document. No matter how many pages, it would select everything. So what I'm going to do, just to standardize it, is change it to Times New Roman. And let's start off with 16. And change this to a black color. Okay. So here I have, let's see, how many words do I have in this one sentence? I have 32 words, or I'm sorry, 17 out of 32 words. So 17. And I go down here, it says page 1 of 1, and I have 17 out of 32 words. Okay. Well, 17 words is equivalent to about 1.5 lines. Now, if I was to increase that font, you'll see that it's going to take up more space. Let me go back to 14. Well, the same thing holds true if I adjust the margins. If I go into Layout and click on Margins, you can see that our default margin, which is considered normal, is 1 inch left and right and 1 inch top and bottom. If I was to change that and decrease the size of the margins, you can see I'll be able to fit more text on this page. So instead of having 1.5 lines, now it's more like 1 and call it 1/4-ish. So I'll be able to fit a whole lot more words on one page with the reduced margin size. Now, if I increase my margins, let's go into custom margins. No, I'm going to go last custom setting here. So this is going to give me a 2 inch left and right. Now you'll see that that one sentence is now 3 lines. So that means I'm going to fit less text per page because you're going to have more space here used for the margins. So when you decrease the size of margins, Word's going to put more text on each page. And when you increase the size of the margin, so we went from 1 inch to 2 inch, we increase the size of the margin, we're going to have less text fit per page. Okay, now let's talk for a minute about tabs. I'm going to click on Home. There are a couple of different styles of tabs. Now to access the tabs, again, there's a couple of different ways to do that. But before we do that, I am going to go back into my layout change my margins back to 1 inch all the way around. There we go, that's better. Now, if you don't have your ruler up here, you want to click on View and check on the box that says Ruler over here. And then we're going to go back into Home. Alright, now to set up tabs. On the Home tab, we have various groups here. We have clipboard, font, paragraph, styles, and editing. And you're going to have different groups based off of the tab that you choose. So each one is broken up into groups. Go back into Home. The groups that are located on the Home tab are the most commonly used when doing a typical Word document. Alright, so to access our tabs, we're going to click on this little button right here, and this is going to go into our paragraph dialog box. So here you can set your spacing before and after to be 0, and then line spacing should be double. For some reason, Word likes to default this to after 8 points, so I usually have to go in and I have to fix this when I'm doing my APA papers. Alright, tabs. I'm going to click on my tabs button, which is located in the lower left-hand corner. And I want to create my first tab position at, let's say, 0.5. And I want this to be a left-aligned tab. And I'm going to click on Set. And then I'm going to do one at 2. I'm going to make that be a center. And then Set. I'm going to do one at 4. And be a right. And center. And then I'm going to do one at 6, and I'm going to have it be a decimal. I'm not going to get into bar tabs because I doubt you'll ever use them, and they don't ask you anything about bar tabs on your quiz, so I'm not going to get into those. But these are the most common tabs that you're going to see. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and click on Set, and then click on OK. Okay, now let's take a look at our tabs that are now marked within our ruler. Here's our left. Here's our center, here is our right, and here's our decimal. So let's put them into action. I'm going to click on Tab. I'm going to put in left tab. Click on Tab again. Center, tab. Tab again. Right, tab. Tab. And then this is a decimal. The only time you're going to use decimals is when you're using numbers. So let's say I'm doing 124.56. Enter. Tab, 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 tab. 135.77. They line up the decimals together so it would be easier to add. Tab, 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 tab. Now let's say I have a smaller number. Let's do 21.44. Enter. Tab, 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 tab. And let's do a longer one this time. 1,987 or 88.60. So we have all of the decimals that have now lined up neatly for us to look at for whatever reason. Okay. Now we're going to look at page breaks. I'm going to click on Enter. If I was to, I'm going to scroll out, zoom out just a little bit so you can see what I'm looking at so far. So right now I have one page. Well, I want to have these two lines to be on my reference page, which has to be its own page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Control Enter, and now I've created a new page. I'm going to type in references, Enter, and I'm going to center this. So I just did a manual page break. Now, a natural page break is when I just click on Enter like that. That's a natural page break where I have all these spaces making up the page until the next page naturally begins based off of the margins. So how do we know the difference? Well, let's take a look. Let me go back here. If we go into File, this is our Backstage view. So you're going to click on File to access your Backstage view. And then if I click on Options and then Display, I can click on Show All Formatting Marks and then click on OK. And you can see where I made my tabs on this, and I can click on where I clicked on my Enter key to create a new paragraph. So if I click on Enter, and if I click on Enter all the way down, you're going to see nothing but these little paragraph marks. Now, if I click on Control Enter to create a new page, you'll notice that I now have my page break here. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that again. So go back to my Backstage view, File, Options, Display, and I'm going to uncheck to show all formatting marks, and then click on OK. So now those formatting marks are gone again. One of the other features which has always been available in Word is the spell check. The difference is it's moved from the previous version. Here you have to go into Review, and when you click on the Review tab, you now have spelling and grammar, as well as thesaurus and word count, as well as translate and language. So if we click on the spelling and grammar, it will run the spelling and grammar check. All right, go back to home for a moment. Themes. We can set up a theme for our document to give it uniformity. So if I go into Design and go into Themes, let's say I want a Ian theme. Now I just selected the Ian theme, but you can't tell. You can't see the fact that I just selected Ian. Well, that's because we have to create our styles of our text first. So let's say this is going to be our title. So I'm going to select it, go up here to Style, select Title, and then go here. And let's call this Heading 1. And I'll click on this. County by county damage. Enter, enter. We could also talk about, that's it, county by county damage. So I'm going to call this Heading 2. I'm going to enter, and I'm going to center this, and I want to change my title. I want this to be centered, so I'm going to go over top of my title and right click, and I want to update the title to match selection. Alright, so now I've applied some styles to this, and I'm going to put references as a Heading 1 as well, and that should also be centered. Right click, update heading. There we go. And you notice as soon as I did that, this became centered. Now when I go back into Design and go into my themes, you can see that as I change my themes, it's going to change the look of my text, of my document. So it affects the style colors, the style fonts, paragraph spacing, and even some of the effects that you see. Now, to create our own style, I'm going to go back into Home, and let's create our own style. So, this is going to be what I'm going to base it off of, and I'm going to click on this, drop down arrow here, click on Create Style, and we're going to call this Title Chiller, and we're going to modify it, and we want this to have a different text or a different font style. And I want it to be a little bit larger, and it's going to be red and bold, and then that'll be fine. and then OK. So now I've created my own style based off of what I just did here. So to create your own style with the formatted text selected, you're going to click on the pull-down menu over here. Click on Create Style. You're going to name your style and then make the modifications. All right, now let's talk about, we talked about tabs. Now let's talk a little bit about indenting. When you want to set up for an automatic indent for, let's say, paragraphs, we could do this. Hold down my left mouse click and drag this about halfway over. Zoom in again. So this is just a hanging indent. I'm sorry, this is just an indent rather. And this is normal for when you see paragraphs. Now, when you do references or a works cited page, we need to do what's called a hanging indent. In other words, we're going to indent the first line is always left, a line to the left, and every subsequent line underneath of that is going to be indented. So I'm going to hold down my left mouse click over top of the arrow that's pointing up and drag that halfway across. And sometimes this top one likes to go along for the ride. So just put your mouse over top of the top one and hold down your left mouse click and drag that back across. Now we have the hanging indent. Now as I go to do more references, enter retrieved from http wsj.com. Let's make up some information. So since I clicked on enter, it's going to see anything subsequent to this as having the same indenting or same formats. So here I have a hanging indent, here I have a hanging indent. Alright, there are a couple of different ways to open up the paragraph dialog box. Let me zoom back up. So if I select this, I can right click, go into paragraph. Here's my paragraph dialog box. Make that double. And then OK. Or again, I can go up into here, click on this button, open up my paragraph dialog box, and again, I still have my same dialog box that I had before. Just a different way of going into it. There is no right or wrong. It's more about personal preference. Text boxes. Let's talk about a text box. Text boxes are great because they allow you to add things into your document and they give you control over the exact placement of that text or even image. So we're going to insert a text box. A Wisp quote text box is simply a style of text box. So I'm going to go down and here we have a Wisp quote text box. So I'll put this down about here. So here we have a Wisp quote text box. Grab your reader's attention with a great quote from the document, yada, 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 yada. Okay. Now, let's say you want to add an image. If I click on Insert, and then just a plain text box, oops. I can move this text box pretty much anywhere I want, and it'll stay put. It'll be wherever I put it. Now, I can even erase the text that's in there. Click on Insert. Click on, oops, wrong one. Online Picture. And let's call this just Hurricane. Insert. And then here's a picture of, here's that image. And now I can take this image, I can put it pretty much anywhere I want. Now, let's say if I just had the image, Control C, Control V. If I try to move this image around, I don't have nearly the control. Whereas with the text box, I have complete control over where it goes. Get rid of this. All right, let's look at headers and footers. There are a couple of different ways to go into your header and footer. You can go into Insert, Header, yada, yada, yada. You can do one of those. My favorite way to go into it is simply go to the top of the document and double click. Now I'm in the header. And I'll put in the page number here. Now I have a header. Now let's say I don't want to see the document text. I can uncheck this. I'm going to get an error because there's no header layer for this page. But let's say I didn't want to see the text. I can uncheck that. If I want to have a different first page, APA requires that you have a different first page. So I'm going to put in different first page. And on APA, you have to type in around running head. And then I'll just call this quiz review 1. And then if I scroll down, you'll see this is my original heading, but I need to add a page number here. So I'm going to go into page number, top of page, plain number 3. That's not what I have up here. What do I have up here? Quiz review. Tab. Okay. And you'll see here's my page 2. Here's my page 1. And then if you want to close out of it, you can simply click on this red X or just double click inside the document. All right, let's look at bullets. To add a bullet, I'm going to remove my tabs here. So let's do Hillsborough, Manatee, Polk, Pasco, Pinellas. All right, so this is my county by county. And I just did a few. So I can add bullets. I'm going to select it, the text I want to add bullets to, and simply go up here and I can click on bullets. It just gives me little dots. They're kind of boring in my opinion. But if I click on the drop-down arrow, I can customize those bullets. I can even go over here to numbers and I can make them numbers. If I want to change the style of numbers, I can go here, define new number format, and create a new number format. I can even change the font that this is put in. And then OK. All right, the automatic numbering. So if I click on enter, it's going to automatically give me a number 6. Well, if I click on enter again, it's going to stop the numbering. So to stop the automatic number, you simply hit enter twice. Okay, so I have tabs up here. I want to remove those tabs at this point. So what I'm going to do is go up to my paragraph dialog box, go into my tabs. I want to select the tab I want to get rid of. So I'm going to get rid of this one. Well, let's keep that one for this No, we'll get rid of that one. And then simply click on Clear, and that'll get rid of that tab. And then OK, and you'll see it removed it from our ruler. Now, when we talk about tab leader, we naturally read left to right. In the English language, we naturally read left to right. However, they do have what we call tab leaders, which are meant to help direct your eye in a straight line from left to right in the document. I have never used them, and I've been in school for a really long time, so I doubt if you'll use them. That's what a tab leader is, and that's why it's there. There are several ways to paste items from the clipboard task pane, which is whenever you click on Control-C or copy, it's going to this clipboard that we really don't see, but it's still there. So there's a couple of ways to do that. So I'm going to do this county by county damage. So one way to do it is right-click, copy. Another way is to simply do Control-C. Yet another way is to do copy. Now, just like there's multiple ways to copy, there's also multiple ways to paste. I can right-click, paste, do Control-Z to undo. I can do Control-V to paste. I'm going to do Control-Z to undo. Or I can simply go up here to paste, and it'll do it that way as well. And I'll do Control-Z to get rid of it. Okay. Now, another way to emulate that copy and paste is select your text, or select whatever it is that you want to copy. And if you do your Control, Control and right click, you notice how my cursor has a little plus sign? That's because it's now going to copy and paste and basically drag whatever it is that I've just selected. So I can now move here or even copy here. Control-Z. Now, let's say if I do just hold down my right mouse click and drag, you'll notice that plus sign isn't there. This is going to mimic the cut and paste. So I just hold down my right mouse click and drag instead of holding down my control button. Now I can move here. Control-Z. All right. So drag and drop by itself emulates the cut and paste command. To copy using the drag and drop, you're going to simply click on the Control key on the keyboard and hold it down along with your mouse. The cut, copy, and paste commands, the shortcuts. You have Control-C to copy, you have Control-V to paste, and then you have Control-X to cut. If I click on my backspace, it's going to delete everything to my left. If I click on my delete button, it's going to remove everything to my right. If I want to remove an entire sentence or phrase or whatever, I can select the text and simply click on delete. Now let's say I want to select an entire word. If I put my mouse there and then simply double click, it'll automatically select that entire word. Then you can simply click on delete. Another way to do it is click, go to the end wherever you want to stop, shift, and click. It'll also select the required text, or the selected text, and then delete. Now you'll notice I currently do not have an original name for this document. I just opened up a new document. It's still called Document 1. If I click on File and Save, You'll notice it doesn't take me to save. It takes me to save as. That's because it's saying, okay, where do you want me to put it and how do you want me to name it? So for right now, I'm going to click on Browse and Desktop and then click on Save. So now it's been saved. All right, now if I was to click on Enter from here, to move this up here somewhere. There we go. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. So I just added another sentence, but I clicked on Enter. When I clicked on Enter, it sees this next text as a new paragraph. That's why it's indented like this one is. Key tips. There are days that my mouse and I are not on speaking terms. Generally, when you're on the computer for 18, 19 hours during an entire day, it's really easy not to get on speaking terms with your mouse because your fingers don't want to do what your brain is trying to tell it. So to bypass the mouse, we have what we call key tips. If I click on the Alt key, you'll see I have these letters that came up here. If I click on F, now it takes me back to my Backstage view. From here, I can click on A, it'll do my Save As, and so on and so forth. Let me click Escape. Click on my back button. So that's what key tips are. You simply click on press the Alt key. Alignment. We talked about alignment with tabs. We haven't talked about alignment with paragraphs. So this paragraph, you can see, has a clean left side and kind of a ragged right. That's because this is considered a left aligned. Go ahead and select this. If I clicked on my center, it's all going to center on the text, center on the page. If I click on right align, I now have a clean right side and a jagged left edge. And then this is my justify. What justify does, it puts extra spaces in between the words to give it a nice clean left and right margin. Zooming. There are different ways to zoom. And the more tired I get, the more I have a tendency to zoom in. One way to zoom in is to use your little zoom in bar down here. And you can either use the plus or minus, actually use the click on the bar and move it to wherever you need it. Another way to zoom is if you go into View, you can click on Zoom, and you can select here, or click on here, and go back to 100%. So there are multiple ways to zoom. By default, let's take a look at our views. While I'm in View, there are multiple views here. We have Read, we have Print, we have Web, Outline, and Draft. You'll notice that Print is highlighted. That's because the print layout is your default view. All right, let's say if I go into this and I'm really tired and I end up typing this, and instead of having to go back and retype it all, I can simply go back up here to my font group and click on Toggle Case. If I really don't want to toggle case, I can always go into lowercase everything and just go through and correct it, or just do sentence case. Okay, now let's look at I'm going to change this text to orange and bold and italics. Now, if I click on my Format Painter and then select Manatee, you'll see that it does the same exact thing. Well, let's say I want to do all of these. Well, in that case, I just select one and double-click the Format Painter. Now I can simply select each of the lines that I want to select, and then I can either I can click this one more time to unselect it, or simply click on Escape. There are different text options or text effects that are already included or have always been a part of the Microsoft Word features. For example, outline, shadow, reflection, and glow. Shadow, reflection, glow, soft edges, and even 3D. What's new to Microsoft Word in this version of Microsoft Office is insert word art. It used to be in prior versions of Office, you could only find word art in PowerPoint. And if you wanted to include word art in Microsoft Word, you had to copy it from PowerPoint and paste it into Microsoft Word. So instead of having to do that, Microsoft decided, hey, let's just go ahead and include it in Word. So that's what they did. That's Microsoft Word art. And if you click on here, you can see the quick styles. All right. Red squiggly lines. Most people know red squiggly lines means there's a spelling error. Blue squiggly lines, however, mean it's a grammar error. So I'm just going to click on and. Undo, redo. I love Control Z. Control Z will actually undo your last action. So I'm going to click on Home again. So here we have the undo, redo commands up here. So there's my undo, here's my redo, here's my save, and this is my quick access toolbar. We're going to get into that in a minute. But first, the undo, redo. Let's say I want to undo my last action. I'm going to click on this little drop down arrow, and I can go as far back as when I last saved it. But I can't skip. I can't say, okay, well, I only want this change case, but I want to leave everything else. It doesn't work that way. I have to basically undo all the way back, and it'll undo all of this. And then the same thing with redo. I know I've already gone over this, but to access the Backstage view, you're simply going to click on File. While I'm here, however, if you click on Export, you could see that I can export this file as a different file. I can save it as a PDF or XPS document. This is important to note because if you send a document just as a Word document, it's really easy to make changes to it. Whereas if you save it as a PDF, it's not quite as easy to save changes to that unless you have the Adobe, the PDF read-write, which is a lot more expensive, whereas just the PDF viewer is free. So you can export your document as a PDF or XPS document. You can also change your file type here. Here you can save it as a .odt, .txt, .mhtml, .rtf. If you're not sure if the recipient has Microsoft Word, you can save it as a .rtf, and it will preserve most of the formatting. If you send it just as a text, it won't keep any of the formatting. So all that formatting work we just did, it's not going to keep any of it. All right. So this is all done in the Backstage view. To move to the first line of each page, going forward or backward in a Word document, you're simply going to click on Control Page Down. It's going to take you to the first part of the next page, or Control Page Up. So it's always going to take you to the top of the previous page or the following page. There are several methods for minimizing and restoring the ribbon, including going up here, and you can auto hide the ribbon. So I'll go ahead and auto hide it. Oops. Auto hide. See how it's gone? Oh no! Click on those little buttons again, and I want to click on here to restore the ribbon. Left click, show tabs and commands. You can also do Control F1 to do the same thing. Control F1 to hide, Control F1 again to restore. By default, the Quick Access toolbar, again, that's what this is up here, has 3 command buttons: undo, redo, and save. However, you can add another icon to that, as many as you want, really, whatever you use the most frequently. So to do that, we're going to click on this little drop down arrow. And then we're going to select whatever it is that we want to use. So let's say I use Print, Preview, and Print the most. So now I have a Print, Preview, and Print over here. If I click on the arrow again, I can unselect it. Now what's nice is that you can export or import these ribbon customizations that we've created to any document that you're working on. Okay, section breaks. If for some reason you have to do section breaks, under layout, under the layout tab, you can go into breaks, you can do section breaks, you can do page breaks, you have page, column, text wrapping, or you can do section breaks based off of next page, continuous, even, or even an odd page. To view whether the break is natural or it was manually put in, the only way to see that, again, is to go into File, go into your Backstage view, go into Options, click on Display, and again, show all formatting marks, which I'm not going to do. Now, if I go back into my Print Preview, File, Print, you'll notice as soon as you go into Print, it also gives you a Print Preview. This is something else that is relatively new in this version of Microsoft Office. Not only does it give you the specifications on where you're going to print and how it's going to be printed, but you also can look at it to see how it's going to show up on the paper before you've actually print it. Alright, and that is the end of the Microsoft Office Introduction Quiz Review. And I'll go ahead and get this posted and send a link to everyone so you can watch this video and complete your quizzes.